Hello and welcome back to Scholastically Natalie, where I talk about books, writing, reading, D&D, and sometimes other things. Today we are doing a book talk / book review of Some Things I Still Can't Tell You by Misha Collins. Preface, I'm not a member of the supernatural fandom. I have in fact only watched 3 minutes of the opening episode. I have read supernatural fanfiction because it is absolutely impossible to avoid, so I do know who Misha Collins is by virtue mostly of Tumblr, but I know absolutely nothing about him besides that he played Castiel. That's literally it. So I'll give you that pre-warning. When I saw that he had published a book of poetry, I said, oh, that's interesting, and briefly flipped through it to see if I would actually want to read it, which I did. And I bought it. It's a really interesting little square shape, which I really like. I thought I'd mention that because it is an unusual shape for a book. And it's pretty short. It's 129 pages, and oftentimes both sides of the page aren't written on, which, again, artistic choice. That's chill. It cost about $15, but I bought it from Target, so there's a 20% discount on that. And I think the cover is nice and unique, as you can see here. I like the ombre and the way that the cover fades as we sink into the skyline, probably because, the sun's rising. Anyways, there are 2 separate blurbs on the back, so I wrote down the short one, and I promise I will still read you the long one. From Misha Collins, actor, artist, writer, and activist, comes his debut poetry collection. Trademark wit and piercing vulnerability converge in each poem. This book is both a celebration of and an aspiration for a life well lived. The slightly longer blurb is mostly his accomplishments. Misha Collins is best known for his 12-year portrayal as the Angel Castiel on television's Supernatural. He is co-author of the best-selling The Adventurous Eaters Club, and his poetry has been featured in literary journals including Columbia Poetry Review and California Quarterly. Misha is the creator of Gish, the 8-time Guinness World Record-breaking scavenger hunt that spans over 100 countries and gamifies charitable acts to generate social change. I think I have heard of Gish, vaguely. He is also the founder and board president of Random Acts, a 100% volunteer-run charity that works to facilitate acts of kindness around the world. A graduate of the University of Chicago, Misha worked in the White House at NPR headquarters before starting his acting career. He has 2 kids and 2 apple trees. There's of course more, but there are some things he still can't tell you. I did enjoy reading most of this. I, of course, as always, have marked 2 poems and actually moved my little markers, so I know which ones I took the quote from without having to flip to the exact page. I have improved. I think my brain's gotten slightly bigger, guys. So on page 57, we have the poem called The Bell Curve. A side note, I also love the font. I invented a game in the 10th grade. We would grade one another, not grades for tests or courses or even academic years, but we'd assign letter values to one another's whole person. I gave an A- to Tasia, and then explained the reason why. She had a charming laugh and clever mind, but a bit too much self-doubt to warrant her a solid A. Leaning on the ping-pong table, John, my oldest friend, rated me a crushing C. "You're too much of a dreamer," said he to me, and the score has stuck. I always think I'm drifting too much in my head. But here, rewriting old poems by a window at my desk, I have to say that passing grade the dreamer's C is good enough for me. I just really like this one. It's one of the most positive ending poems. I can say that all of his poems tend to end with a bit of at least a slightly hopeful uptick, or at least that's how I read them, I guess. But this one was a very nice self-affirmation, where oftentimes his poems have this stretch of longing. So that was just nice. And then here we have on page 128 and 129 the last poem, which is in fact the last poem of the book. My 7-year-old still crawls out of his bed and into ours every night between 11 and 3. The relocation wakes his little sister and she comes too, crying, still half dreaming down the unlit hall. Mama, Dada, where are you? Right here, little one, in bed, in our bed, where we always are. 4 rib-jabbing perpendicular little legs, coughs and whimpers in the dark. My daughter soothes herself terribly by fingernail pinching my nipples. After an hour or 2 of fitful wrestling in our nest, warmth and wetness wake me. I get one of our thick gray towels, spread it across the pea-dampened portion of the sheets, and try angrily to find a way to get back to my sleep. But this morning, far from home, I wake alone in my own rented bed, revived by rest. This, I think, is what it feels like to have slept. And I decide that upon return I will announce the children are old enough past due to sleep in their own beds. We can't live as ghosts like this. Lying there in the quiet and the still, for longer than I have in years, in this empty room with one little window, I drift to those half-naked, warm little ones, nuzzling under my grown man arms, making pillows of my shoulders, recounting the sounds of their sleep, sniffling, snoring through those tiny, runny little noses. And I wonder, what have I missed? One night soon they will sigh their last sleeping breath of childhood, and when they do, I want to be pressed close and alert, to breathe it in and hold it in my body forever. And I think this expresses really well what I've seen, obviously, because I don't have kids, what I've seen, echoed with parents, where parenting is sometimes hard and awful and takes a lot from you, but they still, like their kids. Also, I just realized I was reading it a second time. What have I missed is, I wouldn't say a motif, but it pops up every now and then in the poems, where you see Misha interacting with people or missing people and still finding himself far from happiness and wondering how he can get there and what chance he's missed. So you see throughout this collection of poetry that he's kind of talked us through a search for meaning. This is divided into 6 parts. It starts with love poems. Next is hope, joy, running, and other good things. Then longing, sadness, running, and foreboding. My people and other people. The parents and the kids. This does not have a foreword, so it has been... I have less guidance by the author to dissect their poetry, and in some ways it's good and in some ways it's bad. I don't know much about Misha Collins, as always, but you can just kind of see this search for happiness, where he's apart from the person he loves with the love poems, and when they're back together he appreciates them and wants to stay with them, and he's filling this kind of void with his love for this other person. But then they leave and he has to be content with himself. And it as I've put in the first note, there is a very lengthy thread of dissatisfaction that's really only broken up by poems about the other person when he's with them and not longing for them and they're missing. Throughout the book it seems like happiness is eternally out of reach. The poems about his mother were really sad, because it's both a distant relationship and one that he doesn't know how to feel about, is what I get. Honestly, at first I thought this was turning into a poetry book about not having kids and not really wanting kids, because in one poem specifically his mother's focused on wanting kids from him, and he's like, is my success not good enough for you? And it kind of hit me, because I've been seeing a lot of debates about child-free stuff on social media, and so it was interesting to see, I read the tone of Misha going to his friend's house for the first time and meeting the kids and being like, am I missing this? Because it doesn't seem like I am. And then later becoming a person for his friend's son to look up to, his godson, I think. And I don't know, it was a very interesting kind of search and discovery for, like, what he needed and what would make him feel fulfilled, and it did end up being having kids and having a loving family. And I especially loved the discussion about fitting onto a bed with the people you love, because one of his earliest poems is about how he finds it hard to sleep alone in a hotel when he's used to tangling up his legs with his wife/girlfriend at the time. I think it's his wife. And that's just a really lovely, like, circle back to being so used to these things and having them there with you, that you realize you don't want to have them gone, which is of course what the last poem ends up telling us, that even though they may inconvenience us, and make, and give us some sort of struggle, having them there is better than not having them there at all. And I don't know, I enjoyed this poetry collection. I don't know what I was expecting, honestly. I've heard a lot about how, at least on Tumblr, that Misha Collins is very well expressed. Like, he's a very poetic person when he talks, and I definitely saw a lot of that same dedication into his writing here. A lot of things were described beautifully. Like, I was able to pick up on the threads of description of emotions and how they feel, and places and how those places make him feel, in ways that you usually don't always get to see with poets. And I mean, I'm not going to say especially celebrity poets, because, like, I've read good stuff from celebrities. It just depends on which celebrity you're reading. So yeah, I can say that Misha Collins is below Amanda Lovelace on readability. Like, I think his stuff is a little bit more faint in how it conveys emotion, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I enjoyed the very gentle feeling of his emotions, because he gives kind of like a detached feeling from everything, where he's kind of aimlessly drifting, searching for something. So you don't quite get everything, because it's not like a violent outpouring of, like, emotion and feelings, and his symbolism isn't as direct, which, again, I love both. I love Amanda Lovelace, so this isn't a criticism. It's a very different poetic style, but it's still beautiful to read. It's very short, which is another plus, and especially for, like, poetry collections, this is a very short book, which is, again, only a good thing if you are interested in reading his poetry, want to give it a try. I think it's good. It's nice. There's not a lot of convoluted writing that makes it hard to decipher the poem. It's just a little bit more abstract in what he's trying to convey, which is quite alright with me. So anyways, sorry if that was kind of long and rambly. I hope I didn't sniff too much, because once again, my nose is eternally running. Sorry for the late ish posting. I don't know what has been happening. I don't know what time is. I don't know what anything is anymore. I've been catching up on Demon Slayer, which I was, like, nervous that the next upcoming things were, like, gonna be not as good as the first stuff, which I don't know why I was feeling like that, but oh my goodness, Mugen Train. Listen, you shouldn't be able to make me cry more than once in a season. And I was there just flat out crying for, like, 4 episodes. And the most current one, oh boy, I have so many feelings about Demon Slayer. It is told so well. It is animated so well. They disguise the CG that they use really well most of the time. I can say I didn't like Mugen Train's CG, mostly because you saw it when they were fighting the main demon a lot. But again, that would have been a pain in the butt to hand animate, so I can 100% see why they wouldn't. CG in the current season is definitely a lot more hidden. I could spot it in some places, because I'm picky. But, I mean, it was really short-lived and, like, really well hidden if you weren't really paying attention to it. I don't know. I have been, oh my gosh, it's been so good. All the designs are amazing. And everything's just conveyed so well. Oh my goodness. This is just stellar storytelling, honestly. Once we reach, maybe the end of this season, maybe I'll make a video on it. I don't know. I feel like it's just so blown up right now, but the storytelling and the characters and the balance. Again, this Jujutsu Kaisen, they both are just done so well. Is Jujutsu Kaisen second season coming out this season? I haven't really been paying attention. I need to check into that. Anyways, sorry for rambling on, but like, if you've seen my tweeting on Twitter, you'll know that this season's got me just, But I wanted to read this book. It's been sitting on my bedside table for a while, and I've been just kind of staring at it and then staring away. But I finally have been mildly re-energized this week. Been like mildly motivated to do things, which means my apartment still isn't clean because I keep bringing more stuff in, because I'm prepping for the insane winter storm that's gonna hit us. Which is gonna be lots of fun, I'm sure. And I keep buying stuff to put on my walls, and I am eventually gonna run out of wall space. But that means I can take down my tapestry in my room because I don't really like it anymore. Anywho, I am just rambling. I'm sorry. I don't know what is happening right now. You let me start talking and I just don't stop. That's really the secret of this. Anyways, I will try my best to remember to start including the prices for these poetry collections, because I do, as always, I find books to be expensive unless I'm buying them off of like half-price books. If you are looking for gently used books that also donate to a good cause, I can cheerfully say that I got a lot of my required books/textbooks and just other books for fun. I get those off of Better World Books. They are extremely cheap priced. They're really great. And for every 2 books you buy, they donate 1, which I think is lovely. I think I've donated like a total of 25 books or so. I've been buying a lot of books from them, guys. Anyways, I will try my best to remember to link them in my description, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for sticking around till the end of this. Let me know if you are going to check out the Misha Collins poetry book, or what poetry/book stuff you'd like me to read or review next. I'm always open for it. And with that, Scholastically Natalie is out.